Hello, my name is Christopher Paul, and I'm an assistant professor of communication studies, as well as a cafe consultant. And in this water cooler talk, I'd like to share with you some ideas about how to establish a sense of community with your students early on in the semester. So I'm going to go ahead and share my desktop with you so you can see, first off, this slide right here that just basically summarizes this idea of the community of inquiry and the presence that we need to build, right? A social presence for our students where they feel a sense of trust and acknowledgement and connection and relationship with those that are in that learning environment. They also need to have a cognitive presence, an ability to make meaning out of the instruction that is provided to them. And that's all provided and guided and facilitated by that teaching presence that comes from us. That is so challenged now because of whether we're in a hybrid or online or face to face, so many different modes of facilitating instruction. So, what can we do to help start to build a sense of community for our students, specifically, even social presence? Well, one of the things I did in the fall of 2020 was to send out a pre-semester video message and survey. And I sent it out before the start of the semester. It was a way for them to place a name with a face. It was a way for me to kind of verbally explain and visually explain to them what was happening over the course of the semester and what to be prepared for, as well as to describe the survey to them. I can share with you, I'm not going to play the video for you, but all it was a simple recording of me that I posted on YouTube, included in an email link to them so they can just boom, go and watch this video. And then they could go right into as well doing this little pre-survey that gave them some details about the class again, some reminders, and then gave me an opportunity to gather some information and input from them about everything from their experiences with technology, with Zoom, their comfort level with it, using technology, how often and frequent they'd like to have, synchronous versus asynchronous classes, things that they might have missed about Longwood and Farmville. Close thing was that they missed sheets, apparently. And then some open-ended things for them to share with me about their concerns, their needs as they were approaching the new semester. And I was able to use that then and that survey, these things here, to talk with them early on in week one about community expectations and policies. I was able to pull from that actual survey the input that they gave, share with them anonymously, and then have a follow-up discussion about the recommendations that they might have about certain course policies regarding attendance, class participation, technology use, camera usage, all some of those things that we really found to be really important and impacting the educational experience last fall. So it led to a larger conversation then about these types of things. What does it mean to actually be present? Right. It helped us have a conversation about the listening strategies that we may need to use in online and mass mediated contexts. It helped us define the expectations for camera usage and whether it was acceptable to turn your camera on or off while you were eating lunch or not, right? And how we would want to use different functions on Zoom or even the chat function, as well as just laying the foundation for civility and what does civility look like in our classroom. Can use this as well to go beyond even just course policies and syllabi policies, but to actually to build a community covenant or contract with your students. I've done that in years past. I didn't necessarily do it this past semester. I allowed them to actually have a final say on certain course policies in the syllabus. So there was a to be determined section in my syllabus that they helped me kind of finalize. So that was one way that I tried to approach that by using the survey as well as the conversations that came about from it. I continued to do check-in surveys throughout the semester, and it was just a basic, hey, what's going well for you? What's not going so well? What can I help you with? And what do you need to do as a student? So that provided a touch point as well to help students throughout the semester. In addition, early on, I did a low stakes introduction. I know you've probably seen some other videos that talk about this. You've probably done something similar potentially in your courses, but having some way of allowing them to share about who they are, whether it's from a general or specific prompt, right? That's delivered either maybe in Zoom or in class, or even actually pre-recorded on Panopto or something like Flipgrid. If you know anything about Flipgrid, gives them the ability, as well as Panopto, you can do this, to record themselves, upload it for others to be able to view it, and then they can actually share video responses. And I feel like doing things like that allows students to, again, share about themselves, establish a social presence, and allow others to actually see them and respond and build that sense of relationship and connection in the classroom. You can also tweak this a little bit to do things such as to partner students up. So they're not just having to introduce themselves a little bit, but to share about somebody else. And in doing so, again, we're building more of a social presence and a sense of connection early on in the semester. And as it mentions here, it gives that opportunity then to require maybe a little bit of feedback. It's very low stakes, but it gives them a sense to connect with one another. In addition to doing that, something that I've always done, but I've really kind of realized that helps try to build community all the time is I start class all the time with questions, comments, announcements, or things to share. By the end of the semester, my students just are ready to hear me say that every single class period. And they know that this becomes this opportunity for them to kind of share what's on their mind, whether it's about something specific to our course, an assignment, or maybe that they have an announcement about an organization that they're in, right? It can be used as a temperature check for my students to say, hey, how are you doing? And they can give a thumbs up, or maybe I could say, write down a word that describes how you're feeling, and they can hold it up this way and we can see it. But regardless, it's this touch point early on in the class that is just a way to kind of go through some of the housekeeping that we can do. And I do believe some of the housekeeping that we do in a course is about maintaining and establishing and building a sense of community with our students so that they can better learn. Finally, I just want to give you some basic thoughts that I have about creating an online classroom community environment. And I think it's this idea, once again, of striving to have everyone have presence, right? To have a sense of acknowledgement that you are there, you are part of it, despite the craziness of where it may take place and how fractured it may seem, that you have a sense of presence, helping to work towards that, right? And I know I've shared some basic ideas of what I like to do, and that comes from just knowing oneself, right? And I feel like I would share this little tidbit with you that about Longwood, that Longwood has given me as an instructor an ability to fall into knowing who I am and to share my authentic self with students. And I think in doing so, that helps build a sense of community. And so it might be something very different for you as you start to define and figure out who you are as an instructor in this new kind of virtual world that we're teaching in. But it allows us to still stretch ourselves and to try to find new ways to kind of build a sense of connection and community for our students. And I think that's a big thing, to make a commitment to some aspect of community building in our courses, whether it's something as simple as doing, routine surveys to check in, or a temperature check, or just making sure that there's even just more of this opportunity to share announcements. These are things that are not necessarily graded, but they are things that help establish and build connection and community. I'll leave you with this final tidbit about remembering that online community comes one sip at a time and not in a gulp. And I have sip kind of all in a capitalized because it comes from a theory that we use in communication studies called social information processing theory. And I used it in my dissertation that was looking at building online community and social support. And it says basically that, yeah, you can establish and maintain relationships in online communication, just as you do in face-to-face interactions. But guess what? It takes more time. It's one sip and not just a gulp, because the cues are limited. It's going to take more of that effort and time to establish some of those things that may happen really quickly in a face-to-face interaction. And so I'll leave you with that encouragement that whether you're in a hybrid context, whether you're high flex, whether you are completely online, whatever it may be, technology is part of it. And I encourage you to try to establish some amount of community, one sip at a time with your students. Best of luck this semester. Take care. And as I try to fidget through stopping my recording, take care once again. Bye.